Hi guys, it's Sandra here from Create in Spain, but today I am not in my craft room. I'm in the kitchen and I am baking the most glorious jammy donuts ever, and they are baked in the oven. They're very easy to make and they are absolutely delicious. You can freeze them if you don't eat them all on the same day. That's if you get a chance to. And you can fill them with all sorts of things, or slice them open, put jam and cream in, or even Nutella and cream, depending what your preference is. They are just really, really nice. And I'm going to show you how to make them. So this is what you're going to need. 260 ml of skimmed milk, 1 tablespoon of instant yeast, 500 grams of bread flour that needs a protein content of 10% or more, 1 teaspoon of salt, 50 grams of sugar, 2 eggs and 50 grams of softened butter. Your milk should be slightly warm to the touch but not hot. The first thing to go in the bowl is the warm milk. Now I'm using a stand mixer. If you don't have one, just be prepared to put some elbow grease into it to knead everything together. But I'm warning you, this is a soft dough and it will be messy. You'll see what I mean a bit later on. Next up is the dried instant yeast, and you just sprinkle that over the liquid. It doesn't have to sit for 15 minutes, you just put it on top of the liquid, it'll be fine. Next up is the flour. You can just tip it all in. Then you add the salt. You want to keep that away from the yeast, and that's why I don't put it in with the water. And then the sugar. Crack in a couple of eggs. These should be at room temperature. If you've got chilled eggs, put them in a dish of warm water for a few minutes to bring them up to room temp. And then it goes into the mixer with a dough hook or a paddle on. It's such a soft dough, you can use a paddle if you want to. I start off by using the machine on a speed of 1 until the dough is coming together and all the dry ingredients are mixed in. As soon as the ingredients are mixed together and you can't see any flour hanging around, then you add the softened butter and you put it back in the mixer for a minute or so, just until you have a soft, sticky dough. You don't have to knead it for very long. It's not supposed to be kneaded for 5 or 10 minutes, just so it makes a nice, silky, smooth dough. This is what it should look like when it's ready. I know it looks very, very wet and it looks very sticky, and it is, but that makes light donuts. Now you want to cover it, leave it in a warm place until it is doubled in bulk. So this is what it should look like when it's doubled in bulk after about 45 minutes, depending on your room temperature. Time for the shaping. Now if you don't want to risk things sticking to your countertop or your hands, then you can smear your worktop with oil to stop that from happening. I'm so used to using doughs that I really don't worry about it too much, but I wanted to show you what it's like if you do end up using flour. It is still very sticky. All you need to do at this stage is to gather your dough together in whatever means you find easiest to make it into a ball ready for dividing and shaping. To make your donuts, divide the dough into 2 logs. It's easier than doing it any other way, and you can just divide it off into pieces. Now this amount of dough will make at least 10 large donuts. Don't be tempted to add too much flour because it will make your donuts tough. So manage with as little as you possibly can. It's going to stick to your hands, it's going to stick to the countertop. Just don't worry about it. To shape the donuts, what you do is you simply pull the dough from the outside of your lump to the middle. It ends up looking a little bit like an upside down mushroom cap. And then when you turn it over, you have this smooth dome on the top. Put them onto a prepared baking tray, spritz them with some water occasionally just to keep them from drying out. This is what mine looked like before they went in the oven. They should be a pale golden brown. Brush immediately with oil. Do the tops first and then turn them over and do the underside. You must do this as soon as they come out of the oven while they are still hot, and then they get tossed in a bag of sugar. You can put a cup of sugar in a bag and it will toss all these donuts with about half of that left over. Don't throw it out. Put it into a container and use it in your next cake. As long as you're not using it for a meringue, it'll be perfectly fine. Leave on a wire rack until completely cold before adding the filling of choice. Now I use a rather large syringe, which I purchased from a chemist specifically for this. But if you don't have that, you can pipe the syrup in if that's what you want to do. Or you can choose to literally slice the donuts open and add the syrup. Or you can actually just put the syrup on a plate and dunk the donuts in the syrup. It'll taste nice whichever way you decide to do it. The syrup that I'm using is one from Aldi. It's a strawberry syrup, but you can use a normal jam if you haven't got that. What I will do when all my donuts are filled, I will set aside the ones I actually want to eat today, and then the rest of them will go on that baking tray into the freezer, and when they are nicely frozen, I will then bag them up. If you want to take them out of the freezer, you just allow them to come to room temperature naturally, and they'll be just as good as the day they were made. And here's another serving idea. Slice your donut at a slight angle using a sharp serrated knife. You can see how lovely and fluffy the inside of that is. Really nice and delicate. Now I like a double dose of jam, some cream, and some more jam. Very decadent, but very, very nice. If you made it this far, I'd like to say thank you. I hope you try the recipe out because it is really, really lovely. And I will see you again soon with a normal crafting video. Take care now.